To the Spirit of life and love, we ask that you look well upon our gathering today. We gather as we do each and every Sunday to share in community our joys, our sorrows, and our concerns. It is the hope that you reach out today to those who have shared here already. In our time together, we send out our thoughts and prayers to those experiencing gun violence once again. To those young students who tried to stop the violence, and to their family and friends who lost them. We send our prayers knowing our prayers are never, ever enough. We implore our lawmakers to stop trying to regulate a woman's uterus and please start regulating gun control. And on this day that we are witnessing the turning back in time as women's rights in Georgia and Alabama are being trampled upon to suit some conservative political agenda, we hold up and we honor the rights of all women to control their own bodies and decisions bearing children. In the words of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the decision whether or not to bear a child is central to a woman's life, to her well-being, and to her dignity. It is a decision she must make for herself. When governments control that decision for her, she is being treated as less than a fully adult human being, responsible for her own decision. This we pray in the name of all the helpers of humanity, those living and those not. And amen. Our first reading this morning is a story taken from the book Doorways to the Soul, edited by Elisa Davis Perlman. She writes, once, two friends were walking down the sidewalk on a busy street during rush hour. There was all sorts of noise in the city, car horns, honking, feet shuffling, people talking. And amid all the noise, one of the friends turned to the other and said, I hear a cricket. No way, her friend responded. How could you hear a cricket with all of this noise? You must be imagining it. Besides, I've never heard of a cricket in the city. No, really, I do hear a cricket. I'll show you. She stopped for a moment, then led her friend across the street to a big cement planter with a tree in it. Pushing back the leaves, she found a little brown cricket. That's amazing, said her friend. You must have really superhuman hearing. What's your secret? No, my hearing is just the same as yours. There's no secret, she said. Watch, I'll show you. She reached into her pocket and pulled out some loose change and threw it on the sidewalk. Amid all the noise in the city, everyone within 30 feet turned their heads to see where the sound of the money was coming from. See, she said, it's all a matter of what you're listening for. Here ends our first reading. Our second reading is entitled The Need to Be Still by the Reverend Robert Weston. Some of us with muscles and nerves singing in full flush of youth, some with quiet confidence and some perhaps weary, worn with the failures, the years, and the passing of strength, and still others, the men and women determined to fill with the zeal of battle for justice yet to be and for truth still denied or undiscovered. Each and all of us, whatever we be, must come to a time when we need to be still. There comes a time when we must know the need to go apart and meditate, to seek the meanings of our lives, to consider the purposes we have accepted, and to establish peace within ourselves. The world presses on us too insistently. The appetites too imperiously demand of us, and we forget to be real persons in ourselves. May this moment be one of redemption, a renewal of faith in life and the living of it. May the disciples of humility, and courage be strengthened from this time. May it bring a rediscovery of self and a lifting of the heart with a sense of newness from that discovery. New courage, fresh vigor, and a deeper thoughtfulness for the living of life from this day forward. Here ends our second reading. It was a 10-day meditation retreat, a silent meditation retreat, no talking, no distractions, no interactions. I had gone to this center numerous times before, so I was not new to the disciplines, the timetables, and regulations of the center. We were all there to learn the technique of Vipassana meditation, as taught by Mr. S.N. Goenka, and we're expected to be in the Dhamma hall for the 3 group sits. This was the 6th day of the 10 days. Sitting and meditating in a hall with about 60 other meditators is a transforming experience. All silent, knowing how hard each person is working to focus their minds first on their breath and later on their body sensations. It's not exactly relaxing and comfortable. Rather, it's more intentional and uncomfortable. As you observe the various intense bodily sensations you are experiencing sitting cross-legged on your cushion. I could do that back then. I now have the luxury of a chair. The silence keeps your concentration. Silence. The silence. The silence. And all of a sudden, you hear a cricket. Again, and again, and again. And you realize, oh my gosh, there's a cricket in the Dhamma hall. A cricket. Now, if there's any place to be a cricket or any kind of bug, it is at a Buddhist meditation center. Before, they do not harm that cricket or that bug or that snake or that grasshopper in any possible way. They have little cups around the Dhamma hall and around your dormitories. They're called relocation cups. So you can gently relocate that beautiful, distracting cricket or whatever outside, and you do him or her no harm. A cricket in the Dhamma hall, my friends, is a sermon about distractions. I mean, here you are, far away as you could possibly go, quietly meditating, experiencing renewal and rejuvenation, and the tiniest creature, a cricket, is distracting you. A very different scenario than our reading when amidst all that noise, a tiny cricket is heard. It all depends what you're listening for. Distractions. There are so many things in our everyday life which serve as blatant distractions. According to the Oxford Dictionary, distractions are, and I quote, the fact or condition of being drawn or pulled physically or mentally in different directions by conflicting forces or emotions. a violent agitation or disturbance of mind or feelings approaching to temporary madness, mental derangement, craziness, madness, insanity, unquote. Or the word distraction was once a synonym for insane. I did not know that. Now, clearly, this has taken this idea of distractions to the extreme. So the question remains, how do we deal with distractions in our lives? I found one solution in a story from the Christian Brotherhood about Brother Bruno, a saintly monk who was saying his prayers as he did every day. But he could hear the frogs vying with each other by the intensity of their croaking. Brother Bruno tried desperately to concentrate on his crucifix. In an attempt to drown out the racket, he recited his prayers aloud in an increasingly loud voice, but it was useless. The obsessive croaking of the frogs was upsetting his concentration on what he was praying until he suddenly exclaimed, "Silence! I am praying." Now, Brother Bruno was a saint, so his orders inspired respect. All at once, nature became silent, just like a fire goes out, and complete silence reigned over the entire marsh. Brother Bruno noted from his window that the toads had stopped croaking. The herons' beaks were closed, and the flies remained quite silent on the reeds, no longer dared to buzz in a wind that had fallen silent. Contented, he returned to his prayers. But then another voice was heard. That still small voice was in, and this voice said to him, "And what if God derived greater pleasures in the croaking of the frogs than in the chanting of your prayers?" Well, shocked, the saint replied, "But what can God find so pleasurable in the croaking of a frog? And what's more, at full volume, why did God invent noise?" St. Bruno returned to his window and allowed nature to resume its course. The insects and frogs filled the silence of the night with their subdued rhythm. Bruno listened to this chant, no longer resisting it, and at once his heart beat in accord with the universe. From that day on, he prayed ceasingly. His days paused in continuous prayer. He was continually reminded of God by the croaking of the frogs. If we only commanded this kind of respect, silence, then all goes silent. Yet the solution was not in the silence. The solution came in stopping resistance and accepting the distractions and reframing them, trying a different angle, a minor shift in perspective. I love the sign for perspective. It's this kind, seeing things from different angles. In the new frame, the croaking frog was no longer an interruption or a distraction. In the moment of finally listening to the language of the world around him, Bruno learned for the first time in his life what it really meant to pray. Letting go of his quest for silence, he found a deeper prayer in the noises and the sounds of the world around him. It does all depend on what you're listening for. In our quest to make the sounds of nature more aligned to our needs and desires, we will always fail. Simple listening and accepting the world around us with all of nature's noises, be them crickets or frogs or birds, removes the agitation and disturbance, and allows us to rest in the moment of the wonderment of this world. Recall St. Bruno. The sounds of the frogs reminded him of God and did not distract him away from the divine. So many of these distractions are found in Mother Nature, and clearly silencing them is not the revelation needed. It's accepting nature as it is when the distractions can be altered. It's like this story of Mullah Nasruddin, who decided to start a flower garden. He prepared the soil and planted the seeds of many, many beautiful flowers. But when they came up, his garden was filled not just with chosen flowers, but also overrun with dandelions. He consulted with many gardeners and tried every method known, but to no avail. Finally, he walked to the capital to speak with a royal gardener at the palace. The wise man had counseled many gardeners before and suggested a variety of remedies, all of which Mullah had tried. They sat together in silence, till finally the gardener looked at Nasruddin and said, "Well, then I suggest you learn to love them." To love our distractions. Easiest among Mother Nature's wonderment with crickets and frogs or birds. Did you hear the birds this morning? They're awesome. What, however, guides us with other distractions in our lives? I'm thinking of those things made by us humans. I'm thinking of things like television, cell phones, iPhones, iPads, Instagram, Twitter, IMs, computers, Facebook, emails, the internet, and of course the biggest distraction, at least for me nowadays, is politics. What is happening to our political landscape across this great land of ours? As our reading said, the world presses on us too insistently. The appetites too imperiously demand of us, and we forget. We forget to be real people. This is my greatest concern in today's world of distraction. With the news cycles changing from moment to moment, people coming and going from the current administration, and the lies and deceptions coming out of the White House, the legislation coming out of Alabama and Georgia, I feel like Brother Brune. I want to yell out, "Silence!" I am praying. I know there's always an easy way. Simply turn the channel or turn it off. All electronics remain uninformed and uninterested. But the problem is I like to be informed. And I am interested. Not only interested, but I am concerned and incredibly worried. So how do we do both? How do we remain informed and concerned, yet engage in the political arena and not be overwhelmed by it all? Then I recall the words of a really good man, former President Jimmy Carter, when he stated, "My faith demands," and this is not optional, "my faith demands that I do whatever I can, wherever I can, whenever I can, for as long as I can, with whatever I have, to try and make a difference." To try and make a difference. Our faith of Unitarian Universalism requires nothing less. So my new mantra these days is not a distraction, but just rather a chance of contribution to what is going on into this world. My new mantra is, I will try and make a difference. That's it. Try to make a difference. And believe me, I don't think that's an easy task. So I need your help. How can we together try to make a difference? I envision voter registration drives, working with our youth, connections at the high schools, conversations and dialogue and discourse. I also take comfort in the words spoken by John Kerry a few weeks back when he said, "It is not as daunting as it appears." I believe I'm actually an optimist. I'm an optimist about our choices. I'm an optimist about where we are going. I'm an optimist about the possibilities of what we can do and need to do and what we will do to reclaim a genuine vision for the direction of our country. This is real and not a distraction. Yet is it important to remember it's not about convincing or converting, it's about discourse, dialogue, and a determination to listen. Listen. Let us not be dragged down and immobilized by the negative rhetoric coming out of our leaders that is serving as distractions to truth and justice. May we stand firm and forthright in our convictions to do whatever we can, wherever we can, to make a difference. A really big difference. My friends, in the busyness of these up-and-coming summer days, may we listen for the sounds of Mother Earth, be it a frog or a cricket, and find our rhythm with the universe. And may the times of quiet and calm never be a distraction, rather a renewal of a faith in life. May it bring a rediscovery of self, a sense of newness from the discovery of new courage, new vigor, and a deeper thoughtfulness for the living of life from day to day. May it be so, my friends, and amen. We'll take a few moments of silence.